But I think most people probably aren't completely, or don't really know what's involved with the model. And I really wanted the opportunity to come talk to people because, to be honest with you, we've had a lot of success on the field, but there's a lot of people that when I talk to them, they'll say, well, I don't think that we can do what you guys have done because we don't have the numbers that you guys have, and we don't have the, but in reality, we didn't really start where we kind of got to. And in all honesty, we were at a point, we were very similar to what most programs were at all. And so, personally, I welcome the opportunity to get in front of people because I would like to see more people do what we were able to do. Because it's not only, to me, what we're doing is not just about lacrosse. It's about a total program and a community. And we have a tremendous lacrosse community up there and stuff. So what I wanted to do, I know a lot of people maybe have seen the video, but I wanted to start by showing you a quick video from when we won our first state championship. And then I've got a PowerPoint presentation, honestly, it's just to kind of keep me on track and make sure I hit everything and stuff. And so with that, I don't know if we can go ahead and launch the video real quick. No big speech, we don't need it. What we just need to do tonight, guys, is go out and play lacrosse just like we've done for the last 5 years together. We are the better team. Okay, there's no question in my mind, we are the better team. There's not very many people in this world that get the opportunity that you're going to get to have tonight to play for a state championship and play this kind of environment. So it's a pleasure. Go out there and give your best effort. I would stop and I start thinking about the guys in this room and the guys on this team. And I want you to walk to your left, I want you to look to your right, I want you to look to your teammates. All the guys that I've brought to this battle, good guys. So let's go out there, let's have fun, and let's bring this thing home, guys. This is a big one, right? Let's go, come on. Get alive. put the PowerPoint in real quick? So there's a reason why I showed that video. One is, and I know Mike's here, and he had a chance to move with Northview last year. But to me, you know, having played lacrosse at the Naval Academy and having had you know, individual honors, there's nothing like when you get into a program when you end up capturing something like that. You capture the imagination of the community and the excitement that comes with it. The experience, there's nothing like it. I won a state championship when I was at Ward Melville up on Long Island, when I was a senior in high school. And ironically, my memories of that were very similar to what I experienced as a coach being with these kids when we went through it all, right? And then the second thing, and the reason why I point the video out is because, you know, one of the things that we've been very cognizant from the time that we started our program, we made the decision very early on that we wanted to brand our program, right? So we kind of sat down, we talked about our goals, and one of our goals was if we really want to build a first-class program here, we want people to know who Lambert is, right? If we go up and we travel into another part of the country, we want people to know who Lambert is. If someone talks about Atlanta lacrosse, we want people to say that's where Lambert's from, right? So a lot of stuff that we have done collectively as a group of a lot of people has been designed towards that, including one of our parents who happens to be in marketing at AT&T coming to me right before we played for the first state championship and said, hey, can we do this spell? And all. And so that's kind of how we captured that. But you know, I put up here, it's about the experience. And the reason why I say that is because we really do believe that and we tell our kids that the next 4 years is not about going playing college and not about where we're going to go play in college. It's about the experience that we're going to have together here for the next 4 years, both on and off the field. Okay? So we always talk about it's about here and now. Okay? So go ahead, if I can flip a camera. So here's really what we've accomplished. The school opened up 5 years ago, and in those 5 years, we have an overall record of 93 and 15. We had 5 state semifinal appearances, which I tell people this all the time. Maybe one of the biggest accomplishments that we had was the first year that we had a program, we had no senior class. And we decided that we were going to still play varsity with our group. And we advanced all the way to the semifinals and lost by 2 goals down at Lambert in a contest that was, you know, it was very hard fought, and probably where our kids probably came of age during that first year. I think they realized at the end of that year, you know, hey, we're here for, you know, for real. We returned our whole team the next year. We've had 4 straight state final appearances, and we've unfortunately come on a short end the last couple of years, close games, but we had 2 state championships, 2 consecutive state championships. At one point, we had a 43-game consecutive winning streak, and I would be remiss if I didn't say it started with a loss at Northview and ended with a loss at Northview. So I want to give Mike his due over there and stuff. So anyway, and in that time period, in the 5 years, we've had 24 Division I commitments. Now, here's the thing. I bet a lot of people probably didn't know that last number, because we don't talk about it, right? And that's a conscious decision, right? We are not here as an avenue to put kids into college. That's not what it's going to be. A small number of them that are going to have that opportunity, and you'll see we do everything that we can to help them, and we got a great program for them to get that opportunity to move on. But that's not what we're here for. It's about an entire team experience, and we talk a lot about that. I think as probably a lot of you guys know today, the way the state of the game is today, that's where a lot of it gets pushed. That's what a lot of kids want to talk about. It's like, where am I going next? How can I get in front of, right? And so we very consciously address that. We just had our team meeting with the kids last week, and right now, on this year's current team coming back, we have 6 Division I commitments on it. And we probably have 1 or 2 more on the way. But we told them, we don't care. For the next 4 months, it does not matter. If you don't do, first of all, it does not mean that we're going to win, right? And second of all, if you don't do what you need to be doing, then you know, the Air Force Academy is going to watch one of their players sit on the bench, because that's not, you know, you got to do what we're talking about. So we really downplay that back. We're proud of it, and we help the kids. We're very active, but we really downplay it. So let's see, can I do it or no? Here we go. Okay. So as I said earlier, a lot of people will come to me and they're going, hey, we're trying to follow the Lambert model. So what exactly is that, right? So first of all, I'm sorry this is really small, but again, it's for me to kind of keep on track. You know, we've got our varsity or junior varsity, and we do have a freshman program. Okay, and I'll do this real quick. We'll probably keep between 35 and 40 guys on the varsity, and we'll probably keep between 25 and 30 on JV, between 25 and 30 on freshmen. And the reason why people go those are high numbers, because we honestly feel like what we're doing is part of a community service, right? So there are kids that are on that team that want to be on that team that probably would be cut in a normal situation, but there's a lot of kids in our program that we know will never play varsity. But you know what? They get the chance to play a game that they love, right? So we give them every opportunity to keep playing. That's really why we have the 3 programs, and we keep as many kids as we can. We give them all the opportunity to make varsity continue to play, but in reality, there's probably about half of them that are in the program that really have the chance of playing at varsity, but we're giving them an opportunity to continue to play in a program in a game that they really like. We established a liaison, right? So we said, look, there are kids that want to play in college, and for the kids that are capable of doing that, we consider that to be part of what we're doing, right? So we have a guy we have designated on our staff that's what he does. He stays on top of, what should the kids be doing during the summertime. If we want to initiate contact with the coach, he's the one that will kind of lead that, right? And he keeps the parents kind of educated on what's happening with the whole recruiting piece and all. So that was relatively new. Middle school select teams. We just added a 6th grade team this year, so we got 8th, 7th, 6th grade, right? Up to this point, we have used parents, because we've had to, right? And some really good parents that have played up in the Northeast that know what they're doing. Up to this point, we have used them to coach the team. The beauty is, the game of lacrosse now, we're getting to a point where a lot of the kids that were on our initial teams are all getting ready to graduate and come back. And in fact, I see some of the guys in here that played with us when we were over at Trident, which is great, and they were telling me that they're coming back to coach like some of the middle school teams like at Blessed Trinity, which I think is fantastic. So starting next year when those kids come back, we've already made offers to 2 of the kids that are coming back, and a lot of you might remember some of the names, but Ricky Lewis, who's going to be he's a senior this year at Ohio State. He's on their first midfield. We've offered him to come back and coach our 8th grade team next year if he gets a job in the area, which, by the way, we will help him with. And then at 7th grade, Timmy Guerin, who's a senior down at Mercer, I think he may be one of their captains this year. He's on their first midfield. He's going to come back and he'll coach the 7th grade team next year for us and all. So we're moving to that. The Junior Longhorn Youth Program is, last year we were combining the South, and we're kind of splitting that apart right now, but between the combination of the 2, we had over 500 kids in the program. And I would say probably 250 or 300 of them are Lambert kids, right? So that's part of the program. The Lambert Summer Lacrosse Program. Now I want to. So this is a big one, okay? And by the way, if you have any questions during this, please ask, okay? But the way this summer, our varsity will play in 3 tournaments. They'll play one here in Atlanta, just as a tune-up. And then last year we did it for the first time. We went up to a national high school invitational, which was no club teams, it was just high school teams, right? And it was the who's who of high school lacrosse. So, for example, we had the opportunity to play. Our first game was against Mountain Lakes, New Jersey. We got up there, we lost 6-4. Our second game was against Yorktown from upstate New York. We lost 11-10 in overtime, okay? And it was all Lambert kids, and the people that won the tournament, I think Ward Melville made it to the finals. Culver made it to the finals, but it really wasn't. It was a great event, right? So we're playing in that this upcoming summer, and now we just got invited to a separate high school only, not club teams, invitational up on Long Island. Actually, Ward Melville, which is my alma mater. That's going to be our second tournament this summer.
What was the first invitation called?
The National High School Lacrosse Showcase. Now, here's the reason why I'm kind of the reason why I'm you know, I know people probably sit and go, yeah, but that's because you're Lambert, you get the opportunity. But what people need to understand, I'll talk about it in a few minutes. We weren't always where we are today, right? But we had a belief on the way we wanted to do this and the way we went about it, and we just kind of stuck to our plan. And we eventually got to a point where, you know what, where we got to a point where someone said, hey, would you guys like to come play in this tournament and stuff, right? So for people that are in here that are trying to build programs, you know, and we'll talk about it as I kind of go through this, but what I'm really trying to tell you is if you get a plan together, you kind of stick with the plan and don't be deterred, and just understand that we're not going to get there in a year. That's the way, to me, that you really build a first-class program, okay? And I'll talk about that a few more. We have a development team at the high school level, which is JV level, and they'll play in 4 tournaments, but they'll play just right around here, right? So with no travel costs. And then we're going to introduce a hybrid team this summer, but I won't get into that right now. And then we've got the Atlanta Rage Summer Lacrosse Program. Now the Atlanta Rage Summer Lacrosse Program is something that we had started. It's all Lambert-bound kids. So if any of you have been out to tournaments during the summertime, you see the Atlanta Rage kids. They are all Lambert-bound kids. And we have them in every age group. I think last summer we had one U11 team, we had 3 U13 teams, 2 U15 teams. And here's the thing, guys. The second U15 team wasn't good. It didn't matter. We put them in a division that we were like, you know what, here's the levels. You know, they won a couple of games. They were happy. When I was talking about providing a community, like a service to the community, everybody's happy. We know we go to tournaments, we're probably not winning tournaments. We don't care because that's not what it's about for us. It's about giving all these kids an opportunity that want to play during the summertime, that are going to go to Lambert, the opportunity to play. At one point, and this brought a big smile to my face, we were up in Annapolis, Maryland, 2 years ago. We had 225 either Lambert-bound or kids that were attending Lambert, all in Annapolis at the same time playing lacrosse. 225. And not because anybody was telling them that they needed to do that, because they wanted to do that, right? But we're giving them the opportunity. We're just, you know, we're not, when we create our 8th grade team or U15 team during the summertime, is our middle school select team. That's it. When we name them, we say, do you want to play during the summertime? That's it. They're in. Our 7th grade team ends up being, so we have one in each one of those age groups. That's how we do it. We don't do any evaluations. We don't look to pad the teams. We go and we play. Sometimes when our teams get killed, like our U11 team did last fall, you know, I had to remind the parents, you know, hey, this isn't, you know, guys, it's all of our teams have been killed. It doesn't matter, right? We're getting a lot of kids playing, we're developing a lot of kids, and eventually that's going to help us down the road. And the Atlanta Range Summer Program, just by the way, is coached by all former Lambert High School, former Lambert players that are playing in college. So they come back, we pay them, we assign 2 of them to each team. They own the team for the summertime and stuff. So and the kids absolutely love it. They love the interaction and all.
With such a great development pipeline, what is the latest age or that a player has actually jumped into the program and contributed? So can somebody who's a sophomore, football player, basketball player, whatever?
Yes. You know what? We have some really good examples. Kyle O'Donnell, who was first team All-State face-off guy for us a couple of years ago, the guy was awesome. He won like 85% of his face-off his senior year. Didn't start playing 9th grade. We had a long stick midi last year or 2 years ago that didn't start really playing until like 8th or 9th grade. We've had kids come in as late as 7th and 8th grade.
You know, so here's, so there's plenty of opportunity for those guys. Like if you get guys in that are very athletic and are willing to put the time in, they can definitely catch up and contribute. Any questions on that at all? As far as like, okay. The other thing too is, this is, I said it before, to us this is more than just lacrosse. I've learned that as a coach, and I'm sure anybody that's in here that's a head coach, you realize that you're dealing with high school kids, you have a lot of influence on them. It's about so much more than lacrosse, right? So that's one of the things that we embrace. When I talk about the program, more than just lacrosse, we have an annual alumni game, right? So we're now turning that into a big formal event this year with a big cookout and stuff. We have our high school players all come back during the fall and they help coach the fall teams. And we tell the kids, you know what? You are very fortunate to be playing in a great program. You should all be willing to give back. So we ask the kids to sign up. They all sign up. They go out there in the fall and they work with the younger kids in the field during the fall. Charity and volunteer work. We got 2 or 3 events per year where we send them out. I got a message this morning about the Miracle League, right? So we make sure that we go as a group and we go as a team and we go do that. Social awareness training. This was a big thing to me last year. We made last year, and we're going to give it a break this year so it doesn't repeat itself, but we had a day where we had a 3-hour session and we brought in guest speakers and they spoke to the kids about underage drinking. They spoke to them about suicide prevention. They came in for 3 hours and we made it a requirement to try out for our team. So we did it right before the season started. We said, if you want to try out for our team, then you have to participate in this training and stuff, right? Because again, I think we probably all know there's a lot of issues out there, right? And like I told our coaches a couple of years ago, I said, for us, just pretend it's not happening, guys, is unfortunate because we can have an impact, right? So last year we did that. Like I said, we'll give it a break the next year, and then they'll come back the following year. The Lambert Lacrosse Scholarship Fund, which I'll talk about in a second. This was created by parents who just came to me and said, hey, we want to do this for the program. And I'll show you an example, or I've got a slide about that in a second. Right now we're exploring a mentor program where, and it's actually with a couple of guys from Milton, and we're talking about, for the kids now coming back, creating a program where we can help the kids actually land jobs, right? When they come back into the area and stuff. So we're in the process of doing that right now. And then right now we have parents leading an effort to turf and light our practice field, which is awesome. We're gonna launch a $650,000 project to turf and light our practice field that is being funded by our parents. Now it's money that they're laying out that they'll get back. But they're laying the money out. A lot of the parents that are putting the money up are parents of kids who have already left our program already, that wanted to give back to the program. Okay, so anyway, it's, you know, to me it's more than just lacrosse that we're talking about. The Lambert Lacrosse Scholarship Fund I was talking about a second ago. Basically, the way that this works is they are the goal, and last year was the first year. The goal is to give back. Or put out $50,000 a year in scholarship money to former Lambert lacrosse players, boys or girls, right? And their part of the deal is they have to apply for it, and then they've got to be willing to give back to the program in some sort of capacity in the future. So that was created by some parents. We have a fundraiser coming up here on January 25th. We have a silent auction where they look to raise money. We do this like every year. We do it at a country club to raise the money, you know, to put into the program. It's a great social event as well. We have parents from the high school and we have parents right down to the youth level. So here's just as a whole. Here's what we feel as a program. These are our beliefs, right? Number one, our program serves the community. It's not, like I said before, it's just not a team thing. All the stuff that we do, right, including the summertime and the rage and all, if you participate in summer tournaments, you know what I'm talking about. You go there, you hang out, right? That's, you know, to me, that's what we did. right? It's a community program, and that's why we're making it available to as many kids as we can that go to Lambert, right? Lambert first, not about individuals. This is a message that we drive home to our kids. And I saw some guys shaking their heads in here earlier. The culture today in lacrosse is club, where am I playing in college? That's all that a lot of people want to talk about, right? And our big thing and our big message to our kids, your first commitment needs to be to our program, right? All that other stuff is good and we'll get there, but your first commitment has to be to our program. If you're playing during the summertime, right, all we ask, and we don't tell them that they have to, and we don't have a problem with it, all we ask is that you live up to your commitment first to your team and to your program, right? So if there are kids that want to play additional stuff, that's fine. We tell them that, right? But if they're going to play during the summertime, and we don't tell them they have to, we just make them aware of what the importance of it is. Okay, so we already talked about it's about the high school experience. The spring season is the real season. I don't know if you guys experience this or not. I know that I do. The whole summer thing to me is, playing 4 games in a day, 1 hour apart with an hour in between that's not the real lacrosse season, right? I think everybody probably agrees with me on that, but if you kind of watch and pay attention to what's going on, people are trying to turn it into that, right? It's the whole club scene is becoming more and more invasive into the seasons. They're becoming longer, and the focus is really kind of moving towards that. But in reality, the real season is the spring season. If you coach teams in the spring, then you know what I'm talking about, right? The intensity level is totally different. You're preparing, teams slide. It's a totally different experience than just showing up 15 minutes before a game, throwing stuff on, right? So we make sure that we keep reminding our kids about that, right? A strong Lambert program will actually generate opportunity for kids at the next level. This was a big one. What we have told our parents is this: if people know who we are, and we have a top-notch program, if we can get to the same level as some of the top programs in the country, right, then college coaches naturally are going to look to us for kids for their program. It is happening today. We get phone calls from college coaches that say, we're looking for this and this. Who do you guys have in your program? Or when we went up to the National High School Lacrosse Showcase last year, a few coaches came up and said, Coach, who should I be watching on your team? Right? And so we kind of circled them in the book for the kids, right? So our big message to the parents, and the reason why they buy into our program, into our summer program, is if you do all the right things you need to do here, and your kid's good enough, he's going to get the opportunity to play at the next level if he wants to. If we take care of things here. And as you can see from our success with the number of kids getting the opportunity to play at the next level, that's definitely occurring. The whole thing about conducting ourselves in class, both on and off the field, to set the example, we live that. We don't just throw that up there. If you've ever seen one of our teams play, and Mike, hopefully you guys have felt like this, we're like really big on our kids that, you know what, you can be good, and we don't have to be obnoxious, and we're not going to rub it in people's faces, and we're not going to. That's really big to us. We played Johns Creek like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was funny. We beat them, I think, like 14-3. And the next day, a mom of one of the kids that had played on a team that I had coached sent me an email, and she said, I just had to tell you this because her son was on the Johns Creek team. He said, he came home and he said, the hard part, Mom, is it's hard to hate them because they're so nice, right? Well, I read that to our kids. Because to me, that's it. To me, that's the best compliment that you can get in the world, right? If you can go out there and you can play and you can beat somebody like that, and people are walking away going, but they're nice, as opposed to people that want to get in your face. So if you've ever watched our teams play, when we score goals, our message is you have to act like you've been there before, right? It's not going to be excessive. It's not going to be anything extravagant there. This was another one too. If you want to be a good team, act like a good team. From the get-go, it's funny, one of our assistant coaches said to me when we were first putting this together, He said, Coach, we need to look at what college teams do, and we need to act like that, right? From day one, right? It was like, and so from day one, we told the kids, this is what you wear. Here's your sweats, here's your sweatshirt, here's your shirts, here's your, right? We'll tell you what the uniform is for practice, meaning that if it's gonna be cold, we're in sweats, right? And everybody shows up in the same stuff. And if someone doesn't show up in something, we tell them to go home and go get it, because we're trying to emulate what good college programs would do, right? And so we live up to that. If you've ever seen our program, we have a lacrosse program. It looks like a program you get like at a Braves game. But we were just like, you know what? Let's just it contributes to the success of the program. I think it gives people the right feeling towards what we're trying to do. Next man up culture. I'll just tell you. I say this all the time to kids. I talked about earlier about all the kids we have in the program. I was telling a couple of guys today, this upcoming year might be the deepest team that we've ever had from top to bottom. Not necessarily the most talented, but literally at midfield this year, because of the way we have followed so many kids playing, we have 12 kids at midfield that are going to fight for 9 spots, and I could probably tell you who 4 of them are. That's how competitive it's going to be. It's probably going to be the deepest that it's ever been from top to bottom. I got 6 attackmen fighting for 3, and I can't tell you who they're going to be. That's kind of like, right? So the message we always say to the kids is that, you know, we keep the 35 or 40. If somebody doesn't do the right things, then we just kind of move on to the next kid. I know Sam was here a little bit earlier, but we played Peachtree Ridge last year, and the day of the game, one of our starting attackmen got in-school suspension, right? So he couldn't play. We took a freshman attackman, the kid just rolled into the spot and actually scored 3 goals in the game, right? And so I looked at someone and I said about the kid that got in trouble, that's too bad, right? So that's kind of our attitude. When someone gets hurt, we don't make a big thing about it, or we lose somebody, or someone doesn't do the right things, because we're bringing so many kids along, we just plug the next guy, the next guys in. And then the big one is, we tell the kids, and I really feel this way, I feel this way as the coach. We tell the kids, it's a privilege to be in this program. I mean, I really feel lucky that I was given the opportunity to lead this, right? And we tell the kids that's how every one of you guys have to look at this, right? We're lucky to be where we are. You have to do your part in giving back to the program. All right, keys to how we got here. Build a program, not a team, right? So a lot of you guys probably go through this. You may have parents that are like really involved and they want to be involved just for the 2 years that their kids are going to be there and stuff, right? Our first message to our first group of parents were, I just said to them, help me build a program, not a team, right? Help me build something that's going to be sustainable, right? So, and they did that, right? When the first group of kids was graduating, the Booster Club was trying to make a decision about whether they wanted to take an article out congratulating our team that won the championship that year. And they took out a full-page ad in one of the lacrosse magazines. And even though their kids were leaving, I sat in the meeting and I never said a word when I heard a few parents say, hey, we said from the beginning that we're going to build a program, not a team. And so they took out that article, Building for the Future. They always ask me when I'm at the Booster Club meetings, it's a subject, Coach, what do you need for the future, right? So they want to build a wall at the school, right? So our board has really adopted that. It takes a village. Let people help. If you're trying to build this thing out, I see some people that are like this, that they try to put their arms around stuff. We have a lot of people that are really involved in the program. And we couldn't do it out. Like that scholarship thing, I had nothing to do with. They just said, what do you think about this? And I said, that's great. They did all that. I could probably give you 5 or 6 other examples of stuff that's going on that people have come forward and said, this is. Invest in the program in the community, and I put Lambert first. If you're trying to build a program, and I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody, no matter what it takes, right? Find a way during the summertime to create teams, even if you have to get with another program if you don't have the numbers to start with, and say, hey, why don't we do a partnership here? And then when we get to a point where we can kind of break off, find a way to do that. okay? Because here's the deal. If you have 2 kids that are good enough to go play for one of these summer teams, and that's it, or one, that's not going to help you. That's never going to help you, right? If the rest of the kids don't have an opportunity to play during the summertime, that's not going to get you to where you need to get to. It might help the 1 or 2 kids, right? But as far as like a team goes, it's not going to get you there, right? So you really have to invest in your community. And like I said before, go play in the B division, play in the C division, go lose games, right? But at the end of the day, give your kids the opportunity and invest back. If you invest in them, then you're going to see the rewards down the road. Educate parents in the overall value of the program and commitment. This is what I was talking about before. We talk to our parents all the time about this is why it's important when kids play with us during the summertime, right? And we constantly communicate with them. And I think we're at a point program-wise, it doesn't really even come up for discussion. The kids just know, hey, this is what we do. It's a great experience. They just kind of roll into that. Establish pride in the program. It's our program. Our kids that have played in the program, this is actually pretty funny. After we won the first 2 state championships that 3rd year, we played a very poor game. I think it was at the AJ04. We played Centennial, and our kids played really bad. I had a couple of kids from our 2 previous teams that asked me if they could come address the team because they were disappointed in the effort that was given on the field that day, right? So these kids that have come through our program, they take a lot of pride in the program. They're proud to be part of the Lambert program, and they take a lot of pride in it. We talked about it's the high school experience. Establish connectivity at all levels of the program. I know this might be tough, right? But I will tell you, I interact with every single level of our program. I sit on the board for the youth league. The Lambert coaches do the team selections for the middle schools. It's all the Lambert high school coaches. They don't know any names. We go out there, we evaluate. We're the ones that pick the teams for the middle school. It's really important if you can kind of create, to give you an idea, I work with we practice, varsity practices at Sharon School Park sometime. I actually have worked with the youth league, so they give us the practice space, right? So we work across all levels, and then people laugh at me, but I've got an Excel spreadsheet of kids' names by position for senior, junior, sophomore. I go all the way down to 7th grade. Or 6th grade. Because you know what it does for me? It helps me know I don't need 40 midfielders when I get to Lambert, right? So we have a kid this year that's going to start for us on defense. He committed to High Point. He was an attackman in 9th grade. He was a defensive midfielder last year in 10th grade, and he's going to be a starting defenseman this year in 11th grade. And he's committed to High Point. But we know by position, so we're not looking and going, geez, we're going to get into a log jam here with, right? So we move kids around. So I think the connectivity is big. And then build and take steps and keep adjusting as the program grows. You know, be patient. We didn't get to where we were going overnight. And we made a lot of changes along the way that I'll kind of show you here in a second. And then build sustainable, self-starting, competitive culture. I told my wife this. I drive by Lambert High School, and you drive by there and you look on the practice field, you'll see 10, 12 kids all out there shooting. And I look at my wife and I smile. I go, you know what that is? And she's like, what? I go, culture. I said, that's culture. I said, because nobody's telling them to be out there, but they know. They know how competitive it's going to be. So they're all out there working really hard because they understand how important it is, right? And nobody is telling them, you have to do this. We just did an off-season conditioning program that we started in September, voluntary. We did it with a guy that's very well known in the area. We had 75 kids there. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, for 2 hours. Right? And it's totally voluntary, but we had 75 kids, and to me, that's what I'm talking about. They're all out there not because people are telling them they have to be there. They're out there because they understand the importance of being there if they want to play and compete. So real quickly, the road to get us here, because I know a lot of people go, yeah, but how do we get there? And so this is back in 2007, we had 31 kids try out for our middle school team, right? So everyone goes, oh, you guys got like huge numbers and stuff, right? Well, that's all we have is 31 kids. And I remember it like yesterday because there was about 16 that played lacrosse before. And then once we picked those 16, then we got to okay, well, who's the real athletes here, right? That's how we picked the rest of the team, right? Now, let me tell you this, and this is ironic, and this is really lucky. That first middle school team that we had, there were 9 kids on that team that ended up being Division I lacrosse players. Think about that. I mean, that's luck, right? If they had the capability to do that, and some of these guys in the room might know, our first attack ever on that team, and it was just kids that signed up, was Ricky Lewis, who's at Ohio State, first midfield this year, probably one of the best lacrosse players in the state his senior year. Adam Seal, Connor Butts, all 3 of them were All-Americans in high school. And they were just in this group of like ragtag guys that I got that just kind of showed up and said, hey coach, you want to play lacrosse, right? This team, that first team that we had, they had losing records. The 2 years, when someone called me and said, will you please coach this team, we're tired of losing, they had lost games those prior 2 years. They won like 3 or 4 games collectively. And then we started out. I got the kids together. We took a net. We threw over the fence at Sharon Springs Park. We went in the outfield and on the baseball fields. And for a month, we did nothing but stick work. That's all that we did with that team, right? And then they kind of turned it around. But when I'm talking to people, I go, yeah, but we don't have the numbers that you guys have. But this is where we kind of started, and it wasn't very long ago that we started like here, right? Then a lot of you guys, a few of these guys played it. We had summer try-out lacrosse program then that I was part of, was with the other guys. And some of the kids on that South Forsyth team participated, right? Then in 2009, when we knew Lambert was going to open up, we just formed a club team of 9th and 10th graders. And we joined the NGLL, so the competition wasn't real great there. But what we did do is on any opportunity like a long weekend, on spring break we went to Maryland. And we played JVs from Maryland. So we couldn't play JVs in the state because of the rules. We went up to Maryland, we played 3 JV teams up there. We went to Nashville one weekend, we went to Birmingham one weekend. So that's how we kind of did that first year, right? Then in 2010 is when I formed the RAGE program. And this is where I'm saying, about changing as we move along. When Trident ended, I had pretty much decided that I wasn't doing anything during the summertime. And one of our parents ended up picking up the summer program. And another parent called me and they go, you know what's going on? I go, no. They said, well, this dad is forming a summer team and he's telling kids who's in and who's out, which is not very healthy for your team. So I called that dad and I said, you can't do that. And he's like, and I said, just give it to me. I said, I'll do a team this summer. So that was the only reason why I got back in, was because I could see kind of what was happening there. That RAGE team during the summertime was with kids from all over the Atlanta area. We didn't have any tryouts. I would call coaches. They would tell me who's a good kid. He's on. And we had some really good teams. And we had, we went up northeast. We had some really good teams and stuff. So then in 2013, what happened was that summer there were 2 things that happened. One was they said, well, if I'm going to do the RAGE thing, it can't be all Lambert kids, right? So I had to turn Lambert kids away that wanted to play during the summertime, all right? One of them happened to be Sean Carruthers, and I don't know if anybody followed our team last year. Sean was an All-American last year on attack, all right? But in 10th grade, he was on JV, and he wasn't, it was his 11th grade year, we're like, man, he's really starting to become really good, right? And then Mercer last year said, what is Carruthers doing, right? Because and I hear down there right now that he's doing fantastic while he's down there. But I turned him away. And at the end of that summer, I remember thinking, I had kids on this team that weren't as good as my own guys. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, and then the second thing that happened to me in the younger age group, and this really turned me away, was I had a bunch of people calling me saying, hey, I want to get on the RAGE team for the summertime. I heard great things about it. And I'm talking about like at this time 9th and 10th grade kids, okay, 8th and 9th grade. And so I would talk to their coaches because it was important to us the quality of the kid. And so I had a bunch of kids sign up, and then all of a sudden, one by one, they started calling me back and, well, I'm going to play at LB3 and I'm going to play. And at that point, I said, you know what, I'm not doing this. I said, I'm not getting into this where I'm going to recruit kids and try to convince them why what we're doing is better. And I said, I'm going all Lambert. at this point, right? And so we went all Lambert. Now, when we made that move, I'm just going to tell you, the look on some of my own parents' face, because they were sitting there going, well, wait a minute, how's my kid going to get looks then? Because we can't. We're going to go up there, we're going to get killed, we're going to, right? So we took the team up to, the first summer that we played as all Lambert, we went up to hotbeds, we played in hotbeds, we played West Islip from New York, and if a lot of you people are familiar with West Islip, it's one of the top programs in the country. We lost to them 7-6. And the parents came back to me at the end of the summer and they said, I see exactly what you're talking about now, because I watched our kids grow through the summertime. I didn't think we could do it, but I watched kids that had not played before because they just hadn't had their opportunity on the field yet. And I watched their confidence grow as the summer went on, right? So that goes back to, again, the part about just investing in your own program. So then that's when we went all rage. I mentioned it before about what varsity's doing, and I mentioned it before about all the kids playing in the, up in Annapolis, the over 200 kids that were all Lambert. And by the way, our uniforms this year, the back of the summer, for the youth kids, it had Longhorns across the back. Now this year we're putting Lambert across the back because we're trying to, again, we want people to know, oh, that's Lambert. We know who Lambert is, right? So the only other thing, I'll tell you this real quick, is we changed the high school Rage, because it was called the Rage, and we changed it to the Lambert Summer Lacrosse Program, because I was smart enough to understand that. I told the Booster Club, you guys need to take this. You need to collect all money. You need to, because as I continue to talk to parents about the importance of doing this during the summertime, I don't want anybody to ever come back and say, well, they're doing it for money. Right? You can see what I'm saying there, right? Oh, they're saying because they want you to do it because they're making money off it, which wasn't true anyway. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know what? We need to be a step ahead of this and stay a step ahead of the parents. So that's kind of how we got to where we were going. Am I changing? Here we go. So real quickly, the other things, we've had great parental support since we've been there. I said it earlier. The parents really bought into, getting on board with the plan and being very supportive, not fighting us on it. Great school administration support. I can't say enough about the support that we get from the Lambert administration. I can pick up the phone today, call the principal, and they'll take me in the office in 5 minutes at all. They have been phenomenal. We had problems with football initially out of the gate, and the school was very supportive of the program. Today we have a phenomenal relationship with our football program, right? But the school stepped in right away to show its support. So we've had great support there. Incredible community support. I mentioned the coordination at all levels of the program. The one solid plan, that's what I'm talking about. You gotta have a plan about where you wanna get to, and then just understand that it's gonna be, you're gonna hit bumps in the road as you go, right? But you got to stick with it, right? If you have a kid, for example, like if you're going to do your summer program, and you have a kid, for example, that doesn't want to do it because it's some sort of all-star, let them go. Still do your summer program and just say, you know what, we'll do it without them. At some point, those kids are going to realize that they're missing out, right? Because their own classmates and their own teammates are doing something. At some point, you will cross that bridge there, okay? And then, let's see here we go. Now, I only threw this up here because I think that not so you can see, but I just wanted to show you an example of these are pretty much the kids that have had the opportunity to go on and play in college, right? So let me just show you real quickly. This is why I threw this up here. Warren Bailey, by the time he got to Stevenson and Furman, no longer plays. Okay, he decided that he no longer plays. Ryan Fent, who had an opportunity and was one of our top players from 2 years ago, right? We didn't even know who he was in 10th grade. He was in our program, but he wasn't any good that we really didn't even know who he was. And then all of a sudden, like his junior year, we're like, man, Fent's pretty good, right? Right, as I looked through, Sean Carruthers, you heard me tell the story a few minutes ago. He, in 10th grade, we turned him away for the summertime. He played JV in 10th grade, right? Timmy Guerin, who is on the first midfield at Mercer, If we had their first 8th grade team, he was on our 3rd midfield, right? On our 3rd midfield. Corey Phillips, who was probably one of the best players to ever come through the program, got an offer from Furman, a very healthy offer, and by the time he got there, he decided he didn't want to play anymore because he was burnt out, right? The reason why I'm throwing this up there, there's 2 things I think if you look at this. Number 1 is you don't know who your good guys are going to be, right? And if you don't give them the opportunity to continue to play during summertime and all that stuff like that, you're never going to find that out. Or if when you build your middle school teams, you're only playing 4 midfielders or 5 midfielders, you're never going to get the opportunity to find out who those guys are that are going to be the late bloomers, right? The second piece is you can't build your program around about where am I going to play in college, right? Because for a lot of kids, it doesn't turn out, right? All these guys, I think, wanted to do that when they wanted to get there, but look in the end for how many guys, how the picture changed for them as they got there. So you got to make it about today, okay? And I think the only other thing I'll say is you ask, we have our ongoing challenges. Everybody knows what about the ongoing management with the parents and the difficulties that kind of come with that. The entitlement, like we've seen a little bit this year where guys just assume that, hey, it's my turn, I'm a junior now, it's my turn to step in, it's my turn so we have to fight that a little bit with our kids. I mentioned it earlier, the whole expansion of club lacrosse. It's just, again, you got to kind of recenter your kids because the stuff just, every time you turn around, it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows. And so we have to battle that too. Like we have kids that during the summertime, we have to remind them, right? Because they're thinking in their mind that they're better than some of the other kids, and I can go play with, So we have to battle that too. And then just the whole college recruitment scene. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. I think it's outrageous that they're recruiting kids in 9th grade. I mean, honestly, it's laughable. It really is. And the truth is, they can be wrong on a lot of kids, right? And it's going to be 4 more years before the kids get a chance to even step into college. So what people don't see is the rest of the story with that, right? Because if you get to a point where you're not progressing, then more than likely you're not going to end up with that opportunity down the road, right? And then to tell you the truth, half those kids that they're recruiting in 9th grade, probably more than half those kids, they're wrong. So we have to battle that because here's the deal, and you guys have seen it. I laugh when I was talking with Coach Busick and we were laughing because we were talking about, the fact that 9th graders had committed. And so I guess that means they made their high school team because they haven't even gone through that yet, right? So we have to fight that because the college coaches will even tell you, they're sending them back to us, and how do you think that kid feels when he comes to your team now, right? He thinks, oh, well, I got recruited by so-and-so, right? So we have to battle that as well. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure everyone knows that boy's not recruited until he signs a contract.
Correct.
They make an offer, they're just trying to tie him up. They may not need a midfielder, they may not need an attacker. When it comes time, he's like planning on going to name a college, right? I've got my deal. I'm going to that school, my dream school. When it comes time, he doesn't get it.
Right.
I mean, they play a game all the time, and they need to be aware of that. Your players, if you've got a player who's been approached as a sophomore or junior, say, I'm done, I got my deal, I'm set. It's not true.
Yeah.
And they play that game all the time.
And I have a son that's in 9th grade, and this is culturally like what goes on with like your program. So our recruiting guy came to me and he said, do you want to send Bradley to Blue Chip? And I said, no. I said, he's not ready, right? And so then he asked, everyone knows Coach Lewis. Coach Lewis is on our staff. He's got his son Kyle. He asked Kyle. Rick said same thing. Both of them, their arms are like this big, right? They still haven't even like where they've grown. And I think they'll both be really special players before it's all said and done. They're physically overmatched right now, right? So they got to wait their turn. But then he goes to a 3rd guy in their class, and the dad's like, oh yeah, we'll go, right? So the kid then goes and he tweets to the rest of his teammates, oh, look at this, I got invited to Blue Chip. And he's tweeting around the invitation to Blue Chip. So now my own son comes back to me, and I'm the coach. And he says, Dad, he goes, so-and-so got invited to Blue Chip. And he goes, honestly, I didn't really even know what to say, right? So I just kind of looked, and And I said, Bradley, I said, here's the deal. I said, you could have gone too. And I said, but to be honest with you, I said, you're not ready. You need to focus on just being better right now, right? Keep working out, keep working on your game. You know, you just need to focus on becoming a better player. And all. He looked at me, he goes, well, you don't think I'm good enough? And I said, it's got nothing to do with that. And I finally had to say to him, that kid doesn't belong to Blue Chip either, right? But that's the kind of, that's what the system today, that's what you have to battle, because that's what a lot of kids are more focused on. We've got a couple of kids at Lambert this year, and I'm going to be, you know, it will be interesting to see how it turns out, but we have a couple of kids that are focused on Lambert that are really focused on I'm going to Blue Chip, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going there. And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, I don't even know if you're going to start for us. And I'm being sincere. They got a big battle in front of them, position battle, and they're more locked in on that kind of stuff. So that's something that we all have to contest. And I'm really big on the fact that I'm going to put my arms around our program and keep reminding people. And I've had a few parents thank me, and they've said, thank you for helping us keep things in perspective, right? And giving us the opportunity to do these kind of things without getting carried away. So that's something that I think as coaches, we all are going to be facing, right, moving forward. And I think that's it. I just basically said, you know, the things about, you know, for people, invest in your program, right? Develop a plan and stick with it. You're going to have bumps in the road, just adjust as you're going, right? I think you got to find the right leader. You really do. You can't, you got to, and when I say find the right leader, you got to have somebody that's going to be there for the long term, right? I was lucky because when they asked me to coach, right, which I started doing this program 5 or 6 years ago, my kids were younger. So I've got one that's in 9th grade now, I've got one that's in 8th grade, and then I've got one that's in 2nd grade. So I keep telling people I'll be there till my 2nd grader graduates. Now I might be like Bobby Bowden, like I may not know what the hell's going on. And the kids will be in a huddle going, Coach, let's do this. And I'll be going, okay, yeah, it sounds good. But my commitment's to be there. But it really, if you can find somebody that's going to be there for a long duration, because I do see a lot of programs that get a lot of energy for like a year or two because they've got a good group of kids and then they got the right people involved. And then everybody kind of moves on. And it's hard to create something, I think, that's going to be sustainable if you don't have, so if you're looking for like a leader to your program, for example, I think that you got to be thinking more long term as opposed to just a year or two to kind of, the communication with the parents is huge and the education. I will just tell you that every year at the end of our season, we go in a room, we did it last year, we set up a table and we sit right in front of the parents and we go, what can we do better? And I always say to them, if you have something to complain about, please do it here. I said, we're creating a forum, because what I don't want is for you to go up in the stands and do it, right? Or be standing there talking about other kids, so what can we do better, right? And we have a healthy conversation, and then we kind of move on. So I think that that's really important. That stops things from brewing and kind of, and not knowing about it. Make it about today. That's all I can say. My own kids, I was just talking about, my own kids, I am hell-bent on the fact that I want them to enjoy the next 4 years. And if that means at the end of 4 years, they go to Texas and play club lacrosse, then I'm just going to make sure that they stay focused on their own high school experience. If they're really good enough to go play, I will let them know, right? Outside of that, I'm not spending the next 4 years worrying about the 4 years in college after that and what we're going to do and what's the 1,000 tournaments and things that we're going to go to during the summertime and all, right? So keep it about today's experience and start building your brand name. Like if you're really trying to build a program, start to build your brand name. We have been very lucky because we've done, I think, a very good job of that, where people know who we are. Right? If I go up in the Northeast, somebody will say Lambert at Lamb, right? We get opportunities because we've been very successful at building our brand name. I got a phone call 2 years ago and they said, hey, do you guys want to play a game in Texas Stadium, in Jerry's New World? And it was right after it opened, and I was like, are you kidding me? And they're like, no, they were going to have an event where they were going to have 2 college games and 2 high school games, and they were looking for 2 programs, and it was going to happen in February, so the whole Northeast is still playing. They haven't started their seasons yet, And it was 2 college coaches said, you guys need to call Lambert on that, right? So start to build your brand name. Again, if you're looking to build a program, not just a team. And I think that's it. This is, by the way, real quickly, I threw this picture in here. This is that's my little guy right there. And I'm only showing that because he constantly finds a way to photobomb everything. Any pictures we ever take, he finds a way to like work his way in and stuff. We look up and we're like, oh, there he is. Last year during the team pictures, we're like, where's Brooks? And he's something to say, you know? So, questions? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a 2-part question. Off the top of your head, how many multi-sport athletes do you have on your team, and what's your philosophy on that?
How many what athletes?
Multi-sport athletes.
We have probably, I'm going to say between, like on the varsity, let's say, I'm going to say we have about 10 football players every year. And you know what? We are big time supporters of it. And I will tell you this, we had a big issue when we first got to the school. This is where I was talking about administration support. We had a coach at the school who, we just had a problem with football. It was an ongoing like issue. But every time I went to administration at Lambert and said, hey, we got a little bit of a problem here, they were very supportive. But no, we're big time supporters of that. I don't, it doesn't matter to me if kids play year round or not, to tell you the truth. So.
Would you say the vast majority of your like real stud players, once they hit 9th, 10th grade, play in the Rage program or the Lambert Summer program, or do some of them play a little bit in Rage, but also they go to some of those other clubs?
So I'm really glad you asked that question, because let me tell you what we tell them. First of all, we're like, live to, you know, fulfill your commitment, right? So they play with us, right? And then I'm like, if you want to do other things, no one's telling them not to do other things, right? So we had kids a couple of years ago, somebody played Bellevue 3. But I got to tell you, if their goal is to play in college, the recruiting landscape is changing, right? So if kids going to a tournament, playing on a team and being discovered, it can happen, but that's really, really, really hard, right? And if you look at it today, just about every program out there is doing prospect camps now. So even if they go and they see your kid, they might say, hey, I saw you play at so-and-so, we're having a prospect camp on this date. Why don't you, you know, so what we're telling our kids is that you can do whatever you want to do, right? Our recommendation is play on our team, go to the Under Armour tryouts, right? There's good coach representation there. If you have a couple of schools you know you're interested in, go to their prospect camps. To me, your money is better spent that way. And so, so that's what a lot of our kids are doing. I don't think that there's a ton of them that are playing on other teams, but I think they're doing other stuff during the summertime, but they're going to like, they may try like Blue Chip, or they may try the Under Armour tryouts and those kind of things.
Okay, thanks. So your football players and the prospects are in the summer. How do you coordinate that? Because football has,
yeah.
the season starts in the summer, because June 5th,
Yeah.
June 1st, you can start doing whatever you want to do.
So
how do you cooperate with that?
Could you guys hear that question? He was asking about the football versus lacrosse, right, during the summertime and the conflicts that the kids have. So the new coach at Lambert, when he got named, which was about a year ago, he immediately reached out to us and we went to dinner together. And I said to him, and I told him, I was being honest, I said, listen, I said, we don't tell the kids anything. And when I say, we don't say you have to do this, you have to do this, because we don't. We don't put any rules on them at all. And I said, but the reality is you have a lot of football guys that are lacrosse guys first. Like if you put a choice in front of them and a what if and an ultimatum, then what's going to happen is they're going to stop playing football. And they actually lost a couple of kids a few years ago, and he said, Coach, he goes, to be honest with you, he said, I want kids to play, and if they want to go play lacrosse first during the summertime, he said, I can live with that, right? So that's the way that we've approached it. Now, we had a kid last year who we had a conversation on, and I said to him, you know what? I said, he knows what he's doing. He plays defensive midfield. I said, he'll be fine if he misses this tournament. So we worked it out with the parents, and he ended up going to the football thing. But we had that kind of...
Do you think the tournaments in the summer make a big difference in the time?
For lacrosse or...
For the fun.
I think here's what it's really helped us with the last